Well, this week, Ed Miliband, that's Labour's self-appointed high priest of net zero, has found himself in what can only be described as a bit of a political mess. His carefully polished image as Labour's green visionary is crumbling before our eyes. And now people in Westminster, including some within his own party, are asking a serious question. How much longer can Keir Starmer afford to keep him in the cabinet? Hi, I'm Emily Carver, and this is GBN Originals. Right, let's not beat around the bush. This has been a catastrophic week for Milliband, and frankly, a devastating reality check for Labour's green agenda. Well, let's start with the politics, with the Runcorn and Helsby by-election. Yes, Labour should have walked it. They're the party in power. Reform UK shouldn't have been within touching distance, let alone winning. But they did. And yes, people will point to all sorts of reasons: voter turnout, campaign messaging, dissatisfaction with welfare reform, winter fuel payments. But here's what we're hearing behind the scenes. More and more people within the Labour movement are blaming Ed Miliband's environmental radicalism for turning off key voters. Because if you live in the north of England, where energy bills are still sky high, where industry is barely recovering, where jobs are fragile, then Miliband's plans look a lot less like a green utopia and a lot more like a direct threat to your livelihood. And the timing of this political backlash could not be worse. In the same week as that by-election humiliation, we saw 3 separate body blows to the very energy transition Miliband has staked his entire reputation on. First, Harbour Energy. Yes, this is Britain's largest oil and gas producer, and they've just announced they're cutting 250 more jobs in Aberdeen. And they weren't vague about why. They blamed the government's windfall taxes, a policy that Milliband has been championing with full-throated enthusiasm. Now remember, these aren't just fat cats in boardrooms, these are highly skilled, hard-working people, engineers, technicians, being laid off in the middle of an economic squeeze. All because Labour and successive governments want to punish the energy sector to prove their environmental credentials. But that's just the beginning. Next came Ørsted, the Danish giant behind some of the UK's biggest offshore wind farms. Well, this week they scrapped the Hornsea 4 project, a development that was supposed to power over 1 million homes. Now, the project was key, of course, to Milliband's plans to reach 50 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030. So what happened? Again, a similar story. Costs spiralling, interest rates surging, planning uncertainty dragging on. It simply became unworkable and they walked. Now, that was a crucial green project for Ed Miliband. Has he said much? No. And if that wasn't enough, Drax has pulled the plug on its £500 million hydro storage project in Scotland, the so-called Kraken 2. Another vital bit of infrastructure that would have helped stabilise Britain's increasingly shaky energy grid. It too was axed due to funding problems and regulatory delays. So, let's recap. In one single week, we've had hundreds of jobs lost in oil and gas, a flagship offshore wind project collapsed, a major hydropower scheme abandoned. This isn't a one-off, is it? Do we start to see a pattern here, a flashing warning sign that perhaps Milliband's green agenda is not just out of touch, but is falling apart in real times?
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
And it's not just the private sector waving red flags, is it? Trade unions, Labour's own power base, they're now in open revolt. The GMB Union's General Secretary Gary Smith, who actually backed Starmer for leader, is warning now that Labour's 2030 clean power target is not only unrealistic, it could be downright reckless. He said Milliband's policies could lead to higher prices, import dependence, and worst of all, more job losses across traditional industries. Now, for a party that claims to be for the workers, that's pretty damning, don't you think? And these aren't fringe voices. These are people Labour needs to stay in power, and they're sounding the alarm. So what does Ed Miliband do in response to all of this? Does he reflect? Does he course correct? No. He actually goes ahead and sacks Dame Mary Archer from the Department for Energy's advisory board, allegedly because she dared to raise concerns about the pace and the practicality of his net zero plan. So there you go. Instead of listening, he's silencing the critics. So we're now watching the Milliband doctrine turn into a closed ideological echo chamber where loyalty to the Green Crusade matters more than evidence or economic sense. And here's where it gets politically lethal. Even within the cabinet, Milliband is now looking like a man out of step. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is taking a much more grounded approach, perhaps. She wants growth. First and foremost, she wants investment. She wants to build, build, build. She's backing projects like the third runway at Heathrow. She's willing to put net zero targets second if it means securing Britain's economic future. But Milliband, her friend, he's still drawing up plans to ban gas boilers in new homes and push through decarbonisation at breakneck speed. Policies that may be well-intentioned, maybe, but they're increasingly seen as tone-deaf to what people are going through at this moment. And the divide is growing. One insider even said it outright. Ed's policies are a nice idea until you actually try to implement them in the real world. And make no mistake, Keir Starmer is watching all of this unfold. Quietly, yes, but closely. Because Starmer is a strategist. He spent years trying to rebuild Labour's image, hasn't he? He's dragged it away from the Corbynism. He's trying to look credible to the markets, if not always successfully. He's talking about these trade deals to businesses as well and to voters in the Red Wall. The last thing he wants is a cabinet minister making Labour look economically dangerous or politically extreme. But if that's the image Ed Miliband is starting to project, then he is a liability. Well, sources close to Keir Starmer are already whispering about a summer reshuffle, aren't they? And if Milliband keeps drawing fire from business leaders, trade unions and voters, then it's very, very possible he won't survive it. The truth is, Milliband's green vision was always ambitious, but ambition without realism, well, is that very useful? That's not leadership. That's ideology with a blindfold on. So what we're seeing now with the collapsing projects, the job losses, the party backlash, is the fallout of believing you can decarbonise a country with slogans, spreadsheets, instead of pragmatism and patience. So let me say it plainly. Ed Miliband, well, I think he's no longer fit to lead the UK's energy strategy. And if Labour wants to be taken seriously by the public, by the unions, their friends, by the markets too, they need to make a change and they need to make it fast. The green transition can happen, I'm sure, but not like this. Not by steamrolling over workers or pushing targets that even the experts say are impossible. Even Tony Blair, of course, said irrational at times, and not by ignoring every warning sign in pursuit of some utopian timeline. The public want affordable bills, secure jobs, energy independence, not fantasy deadlines, political purges, virtue signalling and collapsed investment. So Keir Starmer, the ball's in your court, isn't it? Do you double down on a collapsing vision or do you cut your losses and bring in someone who, well, understands reality? We'll know soon enough. Let me know what you think at home. Has Ed Miliband run out of road? Are Labour's green plans setting Britain up to fail? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and of course, do subscribe for more straight-talking analysis right here on GB News. Well, in response, the Prime Minister's spokesperson has stressed that the Prime Minister has confidence in Ed Miliband, adding that he was doing a great job. It's also worth noting that Ed Miliband has reiterated his clean power mission. He says it will equal jobs and investment and has highlighted 4,000 jobs for the Rampion 2 offshore wind farm, a green light for HyNet Northwest, 2,000 jobs, and also a new £100 million fusion investment fund.